This is the RAEV Bullet X V2 e-bike, a new model from RAEV. This is a steel-framed hardtail 750-watt e-bike that comes with 1 or 2 batteries. So this one's got 2 batteries that are each 48 volts and 13 amp hours. So a total of 26 amp hours on that. You can see there's one on the top there and one on the bottom. I'll show you how to set those up later on in the video. I'll do the setup and unboxing stuff I'll put at the end because nobody likes that anyway. You can see it's a single-speed chain drive bike with the hub motor in the back, and it's got really great street tires. So for example, if you're going to be a street guy, do you really need rear suspension and do you really need knobby tires? I don't think so. If you're a street, you live in the city, and these are great tires for the street. They recommend 8 to 20 PSI. So I put 10 PSI in them, and they do give me a little bit of suspension, so it's a lot smoother over the bumps than if I had it all the way up at 20. And there's a look at the motor. It's labeled 750 watts, but it puts out a lot more peak power than that. And there is a fork for suspension on the front, and you do have a damping control here, which you can lock all the way out or turn the other way to make it more bouncy. And then on the other side, there is a preload adjuster that you can use to crank it down to create more or less spring tension. And if I measure the grease marks after riding it all day, it looks like about 70 millimeters of travel on that fork. And it has a big, long, comfortable seat on it. They make some of the most comfortable seats in the business. Any RAEV review, you can see people saying how comfortable the seats are. And then it also has mounting places for foot pegs. So if you wanted to haul a passenger, you could put foot pegs on it. Also, a lot of bolts all over the frame where you could mount a luggage rack or fenders or other things. And up on the top, you can take this plate off with 2 bolts and put a tool bag on there, or some people put Bluetooth speakers up there and other fun stuff. And then if we look at the cockpit, you can see nice motorcycle-style throttle. So that's a full throttle. This is the first e-bike I've seen having one of those. I really like that. And then it's got a pretty simple controller. I've seen other versions of this that say key disp on them, so I think that's the manufacturer, with 3 pedal assist modes. It's got hydraulic brakes, and the most annoying horn, and an integrated brake light and tail light in the back, as well as a super bright headlight that really lights up the night, as you can see here in the darkness. And really beautiful metal flake black paint job. It looks like a black bike in the faraway shots, but you can see just how much metal's in there and how it really sparkles in the sun. It's really pretty. And the brakes are RAEV branded, and they're 160 millimeter rotors hydraulic. And the maximum passenger weight is 330 pounds. Both of the batteries have USB charging ports on them, so you could charge 2 phones with it while you're riding around. And the battery also has an on-off button, and there is a power indicator button on the top that you can push to see how much life your battery has left in it, like that. And the rear motor connector is out where you can get at it. So if you did have a flat tire, you could unplug it there and clip a couple zip ties and quickly take the wheel off and change it. Some bikes, those are hidden inside the bike, and it's a lot harder to get the wheel off, so that's a good feature. So overall first impression, this is a great bike for taller people. It's a man-size motorcycle style e-bike. And if you're gonna ride mostly on the street or all on the street, then save yourself $500 over full suspension models and get this with the street tires and rip around on it. We'll take it on the road and show you just how good it is right now. The seat height is 33 inches, and this is what a 6'1" guy with the 32-inch inseam looks like with the pedals up and down positions. These are the pedal assist modes. So in mode 1, you're between 12 and 13 miles an hour. It looks like about 12 and a half. And then if we kick it up to mode 2, it accelerates up to just over 16 miles an hour. Now mode 3, you get 20 miles an hour on the throttle. And then if you ghost pedal above that, if you just move the pedals around, it'll go all the way up to 28 mile an hour top speed. So this is full speed acceleration. So basically I'm giving it full throttle, and then I'm just ghost pedaling the pedals around quick enough so that it'll go over 20 miles an hour. And you can see how quickly it gets up to 20. It's already there. So 0 to 20 is like 6 seconds on this bike, which is faster than a lot of the other bikes I've tested in this power range. The thing really rips. And then we're already at 28 now. So overall, I think they did a perfect job of gearing this bike. But can it climb a hill? So this is the super steep hill I use for all my tests. And I haven't had a bike yet that hits 15 miles an hour going up this hill. But with the gearing on this motor, I think we can do it. And we're just going to do throttle only. I don't really need to pedal because the throttle is good up to 20 miles an hour. And there's no way this thing can get over 20 miles an hour on something this steep. Like I said, the other bikes I've tested on this, if they get over 10, they're doing pretty well. And on this one, we're at 13. Come on, you can do it. 15, there we go. So it's over 15 miles an hour going up this steep hill. So it's beating even some 52 volt bikes that I've tested going up this hill, which is quite impressive. In fact, that was so impressive, and the big gear is so big on this bike, I wondered if I pedaled and helped it out, if I could hit 20 miles an hour going up this hill. That would be crazy, to just drop your friends going up a hill when they're trying to follow you on their e-bikes. And there we are at 18. Come on, old man. And did I mention I weigh 200 pounds? I think your results will vary. So to pull a fat guy up a hill at 20 miles an hour is super impressive, especially this particular hill. This thing is steep. Other hills around my neighborhood, it does 20 on throttle up the hills. So good job climbing hills, RAEV. Also, I'm very happy with the cornering and the braking ability of this bike. I think a lot of the handling has to do with the tire choice. These tires really are great. Let's do a brake test here. It has all the stopping power I need. And if I bomb a hill with it and go as fast as I can down a hill, it tops out around 38.5 miles an hour, which is plenty fast. And it feels stable at high speed. So if you combine all of those attributes and add them together, that means you have a bike that's great in traffic. I really have no confidence issues with this bike. I can really just zip through traffic, get around, and know that the brakes are going to work. I know how it's consistently going to accelerate. I know how much grip the tires have. I know how quickly I can stop. And so this is a very safe bike. I guess that's how I define safety, even though you might watch what I'm doing in this video and say, that looks unsafe. I've been riding motorcycles for 30 years, so this is like a slow motorcycle to me, but I trust everything on this bike, I guess, is the bottom line. It gets around the cars just fine. I know how fast it's going to stop. I know how hard I can turn it, and it's just well-designed, good product from RAEV. And I think this is my favorite motor from them of all the bikes I've tested so far. They really got the gearing right and the power delivery right. And I think being able to out-accelerate people at low speeds, I prefer that than having a super high top speed. Though this one does get pretty quickly up to 28. RAEV really got it right with this bike, with the gearing and the power delivery and everything. I think it's just the way it should be. So great job, guys. I rode 15.8 miles in all of this testing, up and down hills and really hammering it, and it's still got 4 bars left. Now, I did try to unlock it and change the top speed, and I found the only thing that you can control on here is the size of the wheel. So if you wanted to tell it the wheel is smaller, then you could go faster, but your speedometer would be off. But there's nowhere on here to increase the top speed above 28 or to set it up so that you have throttle above 20 miles an hour. And just to verify the top speed here, I'm spinning the crank with my hands, and you can see it gets up to 28 miles an hour, and then it stops helping you. So that's definitely the top speed on this one. So if you like it, buy one of these. And if you really want rear suspension and a real motorcycle style fork and 52 volts instead of 48, then there is always the bike on the left, which is the Bullet GTX. You'll just have to spend a little more money for that one. Now let's get to unboxing and assembly. The delivery guy must hate delivering bikes to my house at this point, and he has no idea of what this side up means, or he's trying to destroy these bikes because he hates dragging them up my driveway, and this one even looks like he punched a hole in it. But anyway, they did a good job of packaging it. Nothing was broken, even though it was abused by the delivery guy. But you should definitely watch this assembly video if you're buying the one with 2 batteries. You can see it's very well packaged and very well protected against any kind of abuse in shipping. So you basically have to put the front wheel on and then attach the handlebars and then attach the wires up to the handlebar controller. I've seen people on the forum not understand how to tighten the nut on the front wheel. So it has a plastic shipping protector cap that you have to remove. Then you can get to the nut and tighten it with a wrench to the proper torque. And then you just need to plug in the wires that go to the headlight and the horn. But on this bike, my problem was the wires didn't quite reach. So I had to unwrap the wrap that was around the wires and kind of send the 2 wires that way and then leave the hydraulic brake line going around the other way. So that was my solution to that. And then I wrapped it halfway like that. So that's how I managed to deal with those wires. And then your second battery is a kit. So you've got to install this thing yourself. So the battery and the battery attachment and some stickers and a splitter, you have to bolt it onto here with these 3 bolts and then wire it up yourself. And I'm going to show you how I did that. There's a couple of clips here that you can use to hold the wires down. The wire goes underneath the frame and into this box where the controller is. There's 4 bolts on the bottom of that. The battery has an on-off switch on it like that. And then you can remove the battery with the key. So I took all the batteries out, so I didn't want to get myself zapped while I was wiring this whole thing up. The wire comes out like that on the secondary battery, and then you can see it can slide one way or the other. It's a groove channel, so I decided to bolt it in place in the middle position, similar to how the one on the bottom was. You can see the bolts in the middle there. So that's how I chose to do it. Don't know if that's right or wrong, but it seems to look fine and work fine now that it's all put together. And then that wire goes along the back and comes up the bottom, and then there's 4 bolts on the bottom holding that plastic thing on to cover the controller. And I had to use a putty knife to pop it loose. It doesn't just want to come off. There's some little hooks in it that keep it in place, so you need to kind of pry it loose. You can see the controller is bolted to the top of the box, and then you've got to run your battery line up through the frame, through the bottom of the box. I had to take these 4 bolts off of the bottom of the controller box to give myself enough room to move this big fat plug through. I also had to unplug the headlight wire, which goes through the bottom there. So the headlight wire unplugged, then I pull that new battery line in, then I plug the headlight back in, then I jam the headlight wire back down into the hole. And now you've got the line to the controller, and then that's a splitter. So that's going to split the power. So you plug one end into the controller, and then the other 2 ends plug into both of your batteries. And you can't screw this up. They only go in, they only work one way. So you just plug them in where they fit, and then everything's going to work. And then that thing is going to be the thing that splits the battery power between the 2 batteries that go to the controller. Now I'm bolting the bottom panel back on now that I've got the wire through, and it's a really tight fit, but the box goes all the way to the front, and you can see I've got the wires jammed into the left of the controller there. So I moved the controller over a little bit, and then I put all the wires to the side and the little box in the front. Then I put the 4 bolts back on to hold the cover onto it, and then snap my batteries back into place and lock them with the locks. And then I am ready to ride, except the one more thing. I need to put zip ties to hold that wire in place in the back. And then charge the battery. It comes with 1 battery charger that is UL listed. You can buy a splitter from them for $40 that charges 2 batteries at the same time. So you might want to do that if you order the dual battery model. And then the bike is ready to ride. Now that last part, getting that second battery on, might not be for you if you're not mechanically inclined, so you'll have to have a friend or a bike shop or an electrician or somebody do it. But for me, it wasn't too bad, and everything works perfectly, and I actually love it.